Hello and welcome to the Business Renovator. I am Coach Phil, or Phil Jokes. Usually go by Coach Phil. We have a really unique individual coming on the show today who's an artist and who does art for business and does business of art. So we're going to learn more about that. But before we bring on Scott, who tried to come here before, but I had technical difficulties. So he graciously said he would come back. And because we had a period of time in between, there's a couple of additional pieces of his wonderful work that you'll be able to see. So hang in there, guys. I just want to play a bit from my sponsor. It's actually me sponsoring me. Watch this. It's a little clip of what we do at Focal Point. Hey, wasn't that fantastic? Well, thank you, Focal Point, Coach Phil with Focal Point, for sponsoring my show. I know it's self-serving. If you like what we're about, remember to share this out with the people in your community. And if you're watching on a replay, go hashtag replay. If you would like to hear a topic in and around sales, marketing, or mindset, or all three, let us know. My information is right behind my left ear. And if you know somebody who would be a great guest and has a message that needs to be heard by the world via YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, do an introduction. Let's make the world a little bit better by sharing our knowledge and IP. So up in front of me right now is the Customer Delight 365 book that was created and curated by my buddy, Brian Monahan. I always like to provide a quote. So the one I picked today is a Napoleon Hill quote. And I think it kind of resonates with something that Scott's all about, something I'm all about, and many of the people I like hanging out with are about. So here it goes. Effort only fully releases its reward after a person refuses to quit. Napoleon Hill. Brian's take on that. How far are you willing to go for your client? The reward for crossing the no-quit threshold is a customer for life. So let me get rid of the book. Let's bring on our wonderful guest, Scot Paisley. Add to the stream, and here he is. Good morning, Scott. Welcome back. Fingers crossed everything goes as we hope.
Well, good morning, Phil, and how are you?
I'm wonderful. Spelled with a U instead of an O. Anyway, let me introduce you before we get too far into the conversation here. Jared Scot Paisley, and that's Scott with one T, please take note of that, was born in a place called Calgary, where I live. We won't get into the age, doesn't matter, but he's, after he graduated high school, they went to the Alberta University of Arts, graduating with both a four-year diploma in the visual communications and a Bachelor of Fine Arts in 1999. Scott spent his childhood avidly drawing. He likes to believe that genetics plays a part in his artistic talents, as his father, two uncles, and I believe he's a nephew of a famous Western artist, Harley Brown. And when you get to see some of the work we're going to share today in our live stream, you will say, yep, it's genetic. I can't do that. Or is that just me? Anyway, he also is a teacher of art. He's an artist. He gets paid for his art, and people love his work. I think you'll love it too when you see it. I met Scott a whole bunch of years ago, probably 12 years ago-ish, at a networking group in another small town west of me. And he's not a really gregarious, out-in-your-face kind of guy, but he's a heart-centered man. And you're going to learn about that when you see the last image I share with you today. So, Scott, how did I do? Was that pretty close?
That was very good, Phil.
Okay, good. Hey, it's great that you're actually here and you can hear me and I can hear you, and we'll move beyond that. So Other than you were born with art talents inside of you, what else drives you around being an artist?
Well, for me, it's all about, and it's as I grew up and how I related to people and how people related to me, it was all about facial expression, body language, and gestures. So I watched people as I grew up, and I was figuring out how they related to me and how I would relate to them. And as a result, I started to get interested in people themselves, how we interact with one another, how we help one another through what we do, and how others help us, and how we actually, it's a symbiotic relationship between one and the other. So art to me is a catalyst in many respects to helping others in many aspects.
I'm going to see if I can do something I said I wasn't going to do.
Okay.
I just want to let them see a sample of your work before we actually go to the slide. Tell me if you can see that, Scott.
Yes, again.
Okay, this is one of the great pieces, and you can see on the sidewall here, there's a few others that are going to come your way. This is some of the work that you're going to see today. So that's just a teaser. Isn't it beautiful? I think so. Okay, I'm back. I had a teacher in middle school, junior high. I was going to be an electrician when I grow up. I'm glad he didn't like my printing, because he wouldn't let me learn anything about electricity until I made my printing better. And so what I've come to conclude is that there's some people that are talented. We're all talented, I guess, but there's some that are talented in the arts like yourself. And I'm not there, and I'm totally okay with it. But I can certainly appreciate and enjoy it and consume it. And you take it beyond that, obviously, because you've created art. You've seen one piece. There's more coming, and it's not all the same. It's quite different. But you also teach people.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. And could you help somebody like me who struggles to do a stick man?
Well, the thing is, I always say that when it comes to art, everybody has the latent potential to do something. And I personally believe that I could sit down with anybody and teach them how to draw an eye in an hour. And the simple reason I say that is because it's a process. And as long as the individual I'm teaching or showing this to is open-minded and wants to learn something, they have the ability to then actually figure out the process that I'm showing them. And I think it doesn't matter whether this is art or any other facet that you're being taught, as long as the person teaching it is open to questions and helping, and as long as the individual learning the information is receptive to it, I believe that you can actually learn anything and adapt to any situation.
That's a friend of mine, Kellyanne. She's also artistic. She does something called Cards That Wow. Anyway, I'm not going to plug her again today, but she's awesome, and she's taken her skill and her talent and turned it into a business. So it's kind of why we're here, is talking about business and art of business. So when you said you could help somebody draw an eye, you didn't mean like really, not like my printing issue. You mean the eye.
Yeah,
Okay.
the human eye.
Yeah, hang on. You know what? It would be easier if people could see what I'm doing. So I brought myself back onto the show. So you mean the human eye, not the letter I. Yeah. Because if you could have helped me with the I's and the S's and that, I might have been an electrician. Who knows? So you figure that you could teach somebody like me to draw an eye?
Yes. It would just takes, if you're open to the idea of learning it and letting go of inhibitions. Because one thing I've noticed throughout teaching since I graduated from the Alberta University of the Arts is that we need to, as artists, and what artists do is they actually let go of inhibition. So once you let go of the possibility of, as people would say, making a mistake or an error or something like that, as long as you realize that when you put pen to paper or pencil to paper, it's not going to explode in your face, then you can actually learn how to do something. And again, it doesn't matter whether it's art related or something else. It's always just being open to the possibility of learning that and trying. And once you try and you go through a process, you can actually do something such as draw an eye, such as draw the face, create an animal, a landscape. It doesn't really matter what the subject is. It's just being open-minded to the process.
Well, you know, that's a brilliant thing that I never understood about the arts. I'm glad that you shared that with myself and anybody else who's listening. And it also ties into one of the three words that's the king, our pins, linchpins. Look at that. Seth Godin calls the artist the linchpin. So the linchpin for me is the three words that are foundational to the business Renovator, and that is sales, marketing, and mindset. And what you just talked about was that third word, mindset. It's how we show up, how we perceive things, and can we let go and be vulnerable? And you didn't say those words, but that's how I interpret it. Would that be right?
Yes, I would agree with you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's very.
You're the second artist, officially artist, that I've had the pleasure of sharing some time on a live stream. The other one is a musician out of the West Coast. He lives on an island in Vancouver, and he creates songs. So him and I created a song for me. I'm not going to sing it for you. Don't panic. But it's a personal song that's got words in it that resonate with me. Mm-hmm. And the thing and it goes to your point you just said about not being afraid to try stuff. So I don't want to sing it, but in the singing, it changes the energy level and the vibration level. That it's rhythmic. What's the word I'm thinking of? A rhythmic sound bite that causes change to happen at a cellular level. So I kind of hum it to myself, and every once in a while I'll sing it. But it's that angst about letting go that you're talking about. You're talking this way and painting,
yeah.
But it transfers to different kind of art forms. That's pretty cool.
And I think it can also transcend through other like life lessons as well. An example for this would be a number of years ago. I guess it was around maybe when you and I had met. I was working as an art coordinator, art instructor for a business that was assisting individuals with developmental disabilities.
Yeah, I remember that.
And one of the ladies had cerebral palsy, and she was in a wheelchair. She was quite severely affected. And what she wanted to always do was she wanted to draw and she wanted to paint. And one of the things she did at one point was she drew Stewie from Family Guy. And it took her a process of actually learning how to do it. Once she reached that point, she drew him and colored him. I then asked her, because one of her life goals was to be able to get up out of her wheelchair and walk. So what I managed to convince her was, if you can do something like you did here, and you sat and you have the confidence now to draw something that you really wanted to draw, and you've learned this process, how would you be able to then take that confidence and translate it into getting up out of your chair and walking a few feet? And over a period of about 6 months, I had another worker with me, and what we actually did is we got her to transfer that confidence from the paper to actually walking across the room from where he was standing to where I was standing. And even though she wasn't 100% steady at that point, she actually managed to walk that distance. And afterwards, she realized, and she made the comment to me, that the reason she was able to do that was because I gave her the opportunity to feel a different level of confidence from drawing and painting. So these things can actually translate as well, not just say from, like I had said, from doing something as drawing the eye itself, but you can actually transfer that kind of confidence and those kinds of processes to actual life lessons and life learning.
Could that work in business?
Pardon?
Do you think that process that you just explained could work in business?
I think it could, yes. It could definitely work in business. It could work on any level. It's a matter of giving the individual, or I should say that individual that say is in question, getting them to have that confidence to take that initial step to go and either take that 2-foot leap into something, or to, if they need to take it a little slower, they can, but to give themselves that confidence.
Very cool. Oh, the title of this live stream today is the business of art and the art of business. So that kind of transforms right into what we're all about today.
Yes.
And when we met, it was around business in a networking group. It was called CBN.
Yep.
And I'm just going to bring up Wes just because he's commenting on what we're just talking about here. So Wes is an interesting dude. He's done a wide variety of things, and he goes on a lot of courses. And I understand he had a pretty good score on his last course. It's a golf course. Anyway, that's where he was the other day. So he says, I think there are lessons in everything. And I think he's absolutely right. And you being here today, Scott, and talking about what you do and how it's transformed others' lives that you've worked with. And I think it's probably helped transform you somewhat. Would I be fair in saying that?
Yes, it has very much.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the life experiences I have created the person I am. So along the road I was on for the number, I would never change a thing about it, because sometimes it's the old thing about the little ripple in the water, the little pebble in the water. If you don't follow that path, you may not be the same individual, right? Because you don't have those experiences. So I think it's important that our lives make us who we are. And I think that is the key to everything, basically, our experience.
You had a pretty straightforward, easy life, no issues, right?
Well, I mentioned to you and part of the reason that I'm interested in portraiture is because of the fact, as a child, I have cerebral palsy. So that was what created on the right side of my body. So that's what created this interest in, to begin with facial expression, body language, and gestures, because I was seeing how people reacted to me with my challenge. So as that developed and that moved, and I went through my life, that's how I went down the avenue I did, say, painting people versus like landscapes or abstracts, right? So it kind of steered you in a way, right?
And thank you for sharing that, because people can't see all of you. I've met the whole you. I know who you are at a different level than people experience here. So you've had some personal challenges that you've not let get in the way. That's really what I wanted to hammer home here. Yes. So if somebody's out there going, well, a normal able-bodied person would say, they could say whatever they want to say. But when they meet you and see what you've done, I can hardly wait to show some of your art here. There's no excuses. I mean, look what you're doing.
Thank you.
I mean, you're living your life the way you'd like to live it, and you're not letting whatever inflictions you have get in the way.
Yeah.
And man, it's just crazy beautiful. So I want to share some of the art, and then we'll come back.
Yep, of course.
So hang on and see if Coach Phil can make this happen today. It worked earlier, but hang on. Here we go. Share screen, and I want to get it up and running in its. Nope, wrong one, Phil. Share screen. Can you? Oh, that's beautiful, Phil. Nicely done.
Nice layout competition.
Hang on, we'll try it again one more time. Let's see. We'll get there, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you probably can't see that, right? Or can you?
Just see you and I. Is all I see.
Okay, hang on. How do I make this small? I'm going to share. Oh, it's fun. It's fun reading the text. I need a producer. Wes! That's what Wes does. Share the screen. Well, maybe we won't show it in this. Well, how did I get that going before? Can you see that, Scott?
I can see your screen and your screen within a screen.
Yeah, okay, so let me stop that. Let me get back to this is fun, isn't it? It is. Okay, let's go find that app one more time. Let's try that. Do you see that, Scott?
Yes, I see. Now you've got Spirit up.
Okay, so I'm going to see if I can make this a full-fledged show, and let me know if it doesn't work. from the beginning. So we should see nothing but the spirit.
Yep, that's what you
Okay.
can say.
So guys, this is not something I downloaded from Google. It's not something I got out of some kind of photo inventory that's online. This was created by Scott. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited that he's here to share what he's done in terms of his artwork, but as well as who he is as a man. These are handcrafted. They're not paint by numbers. And there's a variety of different styles and formats here. Now, I added the PowerPoint creativeness with Scott's permission to give it a different look for being live here. But this is an Indian chief, and he's proud. Hey, maybe I should go back and you should talk about a little bit, do a plug on Spirit.
Okay, what Spirit is it's actually what I kind of looked at as being my pandemic works. And this is actually one of the first, it actually is the first painting I did when we started into lockdown. And basically what I was trying to convey through it was a feeling of a spiritual feeling through the character that you're looking at. And the fact that he's sort of looking beyond to what could be a brighter day like tomorrow once we're said and done with all of this. And
Cool.
So that was the sort of the idea encapsulated very quickly in the concept of that one piece.
Cool. And this one here, a baby in the arms of looks like an EMT or something.
Yes, that was actually a fireman, and the lady that I did this work for, she was the week after this, the reference image for this was taken, he passed away. So he actually his son actually never truly met him as an older individual, and it was meant as a Christmas gift for the son that he's holding.
Oh, wow.
And this was from the image was taken back in the early 80s. So the gentleman received it, and the lady sent me an image with him holding the painting in his hands. And it was quite emotional for him because, as I say, it's his one true connection, physical connection to his father.
Wow.
So.
And then this Art Blakely.
So this is Art Blakely. He's a jazz drummer. I have a love for jazz and blues music as well as other genres of music. And what I try to do in many cases, in this case, it was more about capturing him as an individual and the feeling of him using white Conte on black cardstock.
Yeah.
But a lot of times what I try to do when it comes to jazz and blues music is give the energy of the paint, so the colors and the music and how the vibe of the music itself.
Awesome. Oh, went the wrong way, Phil. And Proud?
So Proud, this is a portrait of a gentleman who was back in the, we'll say, early 20th century. He was a Stoney chief. He was the most photographed native in Western Canada at the time. He actually was part of the Calgary Stampede and the Banff days back when he was around. He is well known for his farming acumen. In the time, he was one of the top chiefs of his era. And what I love about him is the nobility and how proud he looks whenever you've seen imagery of him. He's a very proud man. And it was reflected in the imagery I've seen, and I was trying to give that aura or that sense through this image.
Awesome. And oops, I'm going wrong. I can't drive. And then Tear.
Tear, this was again back to the feeling of raw emotion. So whereas with Spirit, it was kind of the idea of going beyond, and there was a positive thing on the possibility at the end of it. In this case, I view this as more of the individual is going through a trying period, and he's displaying that emotion as he's with the wiping the tear away from his eye. So it was kind of juxtaposition, and it was also what I refer to as a pandemic piece, because it was about a couple of paintings after the Spirit that I had done this, and some of these actually reflect to a degree how I was during when I painted them. So certain components and certain times, I'll actually, at this point, I was kind of starting to, at first it was the optimism immediately of what was going to happen once we got through this. And then as we were going through it and it started to drag, and there's that kind of emotion of when is this really going to start to straighten out?
Right.
And it started to get kind of more in that kind of an emotional mindset. So then this is the sort of thing that I would then gravitate towards. Right. So now I'm starting to come back out of it again. So it would be closer to, say, spirit.
Gotcha. So this next one I think is coming up here. I can't see what I'm going to show you, but my memory was there was a horrific, tragic event that happened a bunch of years ago with a crazy weather system that came in with a massive amount of wind. And it wasn't like a hurricane or tornado, but it was very, very strong. And there was some construction in the downtown core of Calgary where we both live in or near. And the tragedy was what inspired you for this next piece.
Yeah.
And because of our connection at the CBN at the time, the Cochrane Business Networking Group, you had said something to us as, I don't know if it was around our table or to the group, that you wanted to do something for this family. And then people from that group rallied around you to help you put together the auction and all of the pieces to the auction, from the things to be auctioned off to the auctioneers, and then the people to come in and invest their money and support this vision that you have. So I want to go right to the vision right now, and we can talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
There's the vision, the angel. Go ahead and fill in the holes that I missed.
So just to give you a rundown again of what occurred, during a time that there was pretty heavy winds downtown Calgary, what it turned out, this young girl, Michelle, and her family were downtown Calgary, adjacent from the Calgary Tower. And there were one of the buildings adjacent to it actually had 600 pounds of sheet metal untethered. And what happened was a wind gust came along, knocked a bunch of the metal down onto the street. She was crushed, and her father was badly injured by the falling debris. And what had happened was one day I had gone and picked up the Calgary Sun, and an image of this young girl was on the front cover. And immediately I saw it and I read the headline. There was an emotional connection, and I had to immediately paint her portrait. I pulled out all my paints, I pulled out the canvas, and I started to paint. Once I released that emotion that I was feeling, I then needed to, and it had served its purpose for me, I realized that there was somebody out there who would probably cherish something like this. So I went about locating the family, and I presented the painting to them. Once that occurred, and I actually saw the family and not only their emotional problems and issues they were having with the passing of their young daughter, who at that time was coming up to being 4 years old. She was still 3 years old. I was discussing with the mother about the situation, and she had mentioned to me that her husband had also been hit by the metal and was in the flooring business, and as a result could not continue to work. And what happened was then I started to think, how can I help this family? So then that's when I had approached you and the CBN to possibly create a fundraiser to raise money for them and to help them through their financial straits, as well as carrying them through on a different level through the tragedy of losing this young lady.
Yeah. And as much as, oh, hang on. Did I lose you, Scott?
No, I'm here. Okay,
good. I'm pushing buttons and things are happening. I need you, Wes. We need to talk. Anyway, that's a beautiful piece. That's a really sad story of how you were inspired to do it. But you took that, as you've done in many times that I've engaged with you, you've taken something that from inside of you has an emotional connection and turned it into something tangible in your artwork. And I'm really excited that we got a chance to see some of the pieces that you've done. those are, I think some of those are for sale. But what you've done there by talking about this is you worked with your art with a group of people in business, because the CBN was a group of business owners. Small to medium-sized companies were represented by the people that attended. And as a result of that, the strength of many, we were able to do something good for the family. But what wouldn't have happened if you hadn't have done what you've done. So the art of business and the business of art showed up in you by sharing it with us and engaging us as entrepreneurs and business owners to support you in your vision and in your mission. And we did have a lot of fun in celebrating the life of that young angel, and they did get a little bit of money to help them through their that horrible event. It wasn't enough to live forever and ever, but it was a way to reach out, support, and have them. And they have that picture of her for Mom does, right?
Yeah.
Has that picture of her forever. So they've lost their physical child, but they have the beauty that you captured. That's a beautiful, beautiful picture. Wow, I guess that's really a good place to stop, trying to keep these in that time frame. Is there anything else that you would like to wrap up and tell our audience while I go look for how can they get a hold of you? I'm going to put it on the screen right now.
Okay, so if anybody is interested in getting a hold of me, you can, as you can see there, it's at facebook.com/Scot.Paisley. You can also reach me at scotpaisley.com, which is my official website. And I do have some work on Etsy under Art by Scot Paisley. And I'm always willing to talk about art, and if anybody needs any concepts or ideas, or they would like assistance in doing something to that effect, I'm always happy to help anybody. To me, again, this is a lot about, yes, it's artistic, but it's also about helping others and giving other people opportunities. So if there's any way that anybody needs some form of guidance on an artistic level, for example, since that is my strong suit, I'm very welcome and happy to help. And you can as I say, you can also reach me at scotpaisley.com, or you can get me as well at scottpaisley@gmail.com.
Cool. And he does commission work. So if
I do commission work.
If you have something that's important to you for whatever reason, reach out to him and see what he could come up with for you. Scot, thank you for being here and sharing some of your talent and your knowledge in and around the art of business and the business of art.
Yes, you're welcome, Phil.
I'll be back with you in a minute.
Sure.
So, wow, hey, wow. I mean, who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't realize how good it was going to be. For me, it was very impactful to hear what Scot's all about, what he's done, and sharing some of the art that he's created. If you liked what you've heard here, remember to share this out with people. Tell them that we are on the air, and you can catch us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you know of anybody that would be a great guest, that has a story that would be a benefit in and around sales, marketing, and mindset, a message that we could share with the world, hey, introduce them to me. Until then, till we meet again, have a wonderful day, and it's spelled with a U, because you are wonderful.